Good evening, everybody, and warm welcome to this today's webinar. We have with us Mr. Kedar Bhide, who is a nature photographer, and he is going to showcase his work on a specialized subject, that is macro photography. So, before starting this today's program, I would like to give you all a brief introduction about Kedar. Kedar Bhide is managing director at Nature Works. The company is involved in fine art, inkjet printing. His place is at Thane. Photography services, community initiatives, and environmental services. These are his other activities. Before starting this initiative, through his passion of wildlife photography and conservation of last 3 decades, he has been at various global and regional leadership positions with multinationals like Sumitomo, BASF, and Tagros Chemicals in the field of environmental health. Kedar is also an ophiologist and presently works on snake bite death mitigation through his campaign Zero Bites with other global and national partners. He has been instrumental in two first reports of snake species from India, Sid all-headed snake from Rajasthan and Kalbaki pit viper from Arunachal Pradesh. The work of Arunachal Pradesh was also featured in Animal Planet documentary called When Bamboo Flowers in 2007. His photography work has been used in many books and publications on wildlife and nature in India and abroad. He has been a judge for nature and wildlife themes in various photography competitions, including Better Photography's Photographer of the Year for 5 years, as well as Thane Mayor's Photography Competition in 2016. He also has done his solo exhibition, Top, Bottom, and Everything in Between. This was the title of his exhibition in the year October 2017 at Jahangir Art Gallery to showcase biodiversity of India, which was very well received. He keeps exploring nature through his photography, loves scuba diving, off-roading, and occasionally known to write poetry through his blog, Beyond Salvage on eBlogger. His work we can see at two websites. One is kedarbhide.com and another is natureworksindia.com. So, welcome Kedar once again, and over to you. We will start your slideshow on macro photography.
Thank you, Rajendra ji. Good evening to all PSI members, and let me share my screen. राजेंद्र जी कोर्स नहीं बनाया क्या? मुझे शेयर नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ मैं मेरा स्क्रीन.
Pandit, just allow him to share. One second, I will try. See now.
No, not still. One minute.
Files.
सर नहीं हो रहा है क्या?
Now I can. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can see now.
But
So again.
Okay.
Okay. So again, good evening everybody. मैं आज मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी पे थोड़ी बात करने वाला हूँ. Generally speaking, if you look at macro photography definition, तो definition में macro photography जो larger than life images 1:1 to 1:5x रेशियो में होनी चाहिए. क्लोजअप मीन्स एनी एरिया ऑफ अ सब्जेक्ट जो क्लोजर नॉर्मल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से क्लोजर है, या माइक्रो मीन्स जो माइक्रोस्कोप लगा के फोटो माइक्रोग्राफी करते हैं. सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ डेफिनेशंस इन दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक्स विच पीपल फॉलो. बट मेरा कहना ये है कि ये डेफिनेशन में ज्यादा कुछ प्रेशर होने की या टेंशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. मेरे अनुसार मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी जो है वो इज नॉट अबाउट हाउ क्लोज यू कैन गेट टू द सब्जेक्ट, बट इट्स ऑल अबाउट हाउ क्लोज यू कैन टेक द सब्जेक्ट टू योर व्यूअर साइज. कि सब्जेक्ट जो आप फोटोग्राफ कर रहे हो उसके नजदीक आप कितने जा पा रहे हो ये इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है. तो वो सब्जेक्ट को आप दर्शकों के पास उनके व्यू फाइंडर में आप कितने बड़ी तरीके से लेके जा सकते हो, ये ज्यादा मेरे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट बात है. तो मैं जब मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी सोचता हूँ तो जो सब्जेक्ट हम जानते नहीं उनके बारे में, जो बहुत छोटे साइज में या नेचर में वाइल्ड लाइफ में पाए जाते हैं, उनको लार्जर देन लाइफ प्रोजेक्ट करना, ये मेरा माइक्रो फोटोग्राफी का ऑब्जेक्टिव रहता है हमेशा. सो इसेंशियली अगर आप देखना है तो जो भी आप सब्जेक्ट देख रहे हो आपको क्लोज लगना चाहिए. आपको लगना चाहिए कि आप उसके बाजू में बैठे हो. वो लार्जर देन लाइफ एक तरह का इम्पैक्ट होना चाहिए आपके फोटोग्राफी में. एंड जनरली जो भी क्लोजअप्स रहते हैं वो किसी भी जॉनरा में पाए जाते हैं. आप जैसे पीपल फोटोग्राफी हो या फाइन आर्ट फोटोग्राफी हो, फिजिकल स्ट्रक्चर्स की फोटोग्राफी हो. बट जब हम मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी की बात करते हैं तो ये जो नेचर में जो सब्जेक्ट पाए जाते हैं जैसे इंसेक्ट्स है, रेप्टाइल्स है, एम्फीबियंस है, इनको आपको जो क्यूरियोसिटी रहती है उसके लिए जो लार्जर देन लाइफ आप शूट कर सकते हो उनको, तो मेरे तरह से उसको ही सिर्फ मैं खुद मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी कहता हूँ. बाकी सारी क्लोजअप फोटोग्राफी होती है, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट फोटोग्राफी होती है, बट मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी जिसमें आपके सब्जेक्ट लार्जर देन लाइफ साइज में आप व्यूअर्स को दिखा सकते हो, एक तरह का उनका फीलिंग आप क्रिएट कर सकते हो उस सब्जेक्ट के बारे में, उसके लिए मैं उनको मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी कहता हूँ. सो इन अ सिंपल लैंग्वेज मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी कैसे करोगे, तो हाउ यू कैन आइसोलेट योर सब्जेक्ट फ्रॉम ऑल दैट केओस ऑल अराउंड दैट पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट. जैसे अगर हम वेरी वाइडली बात करें कि अगर पेंटिंग वाले जो पेंटर्स होते हैं वो एडिटिव सब्जेक्ट होता है, उनके पास ब्लैंक कैनवास होता है जिसपे वो रंग भरते जाते हैं और अपनी पेंटिंग क्रिएट करते हैं. फोटोग्राफर्स जो होते हैं वो थोड़े सब्सट्रैक्टिव होते हैं कि आपको सामने बहुत सारे चीजों से भरा हुआ कैनवास रहता है, आप क्या क्या निकाल पाओगे और जो सिर्फ आपको दिखाना है वही देख पाओगे. ये एक फोटोग्राफर की क्रिएटिविटी होती है, तो ये थोड़ी सब्सट्रैक्टिव होती है. तो आइसोलेट आप कैसे करोगे आपके सब्जेक्ट को, तो ये जो सारे बाकी फोटोग्राफी में भी आता है, मैक्रो में भी वही मेन प्रिंसिपल है. उसमें अलग अलग तरीके हो सकते हैं. आप 1:1 रेशियो क्रिएट करते हो जिसमें आपका जो सेंसर है, या पुराने जमाने में फिल्म प्लेन होता था कैमरा का, उसमें वो 1:1 रेशियो में आपके सब्जेक्ट आ जाए. या डेप्थ ऑफ फील्ड जैसे शैलो एपर्चर आप बहुत करके सॉफ्टनेस बैकग्राउंड कर देते हो, या फ्लैश का यूज करके आप पीछे ब्लैक बैकड्रॉप क्रिएट करते हो. तो ये जो दोनों टेक्निक है वो मैक्रो में आपको सब्जेक्ट आइसोलेट करने में बहुत अच्छी तरह से काम आते हैं. तीसरा बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एक होता है मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी में जो है शूटिंग एंगल. आप आई लेवल पे हो, हाई हो, लो लेवल पे हो, या आपका पोजीशन किस जगह पे है. देखिए आप जब लैंडस्केप फोटोग्राफी या कोई अदर सब्जेक्ट करते हो तो आप आधा इंच इधर उधर मूव करोगे तो आपके विजुअलाइजेशन में ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. बट मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी में आप आपके सब्जेक्ट से बहुत क्लोज रहते हो, तो आधा इंच का भी जो आपका पोजीशन मूव होता है उसमें बहुत चेंज होता है आपके विजुअलाइजेशन में. इसलिए शूटिंग एंगल और आपका पोजीशन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी में. एज इन ऑल अदर जॉनरास कंपोजिशन मैटर्स अ लॉट, बिकॉज आप किसी को लार्जर देन लाइफ जब प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हो तो वो उसका कंपोजिशन वो फ्रेम में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट इन दिस मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी इज द लाइटिंग. You need to create a directed light either through your flash or a reflectors or through a lot of other techniques on the subject, and then you will probably isolate it much better to get you that larger than life impact. So this is like typically 1:1 ratio to your sensor, you know, and where the subject looks very kind of a much larger than your normal. If you look at the snail in a nature just by naked eye, it will look very small. This is probably half an inch. But when you do the macro photography with 1:1 ratio, It looks like very close to you. It's look like larger than life. Shows all its beauty into it. Second is you can isolate by shallow depth of field, only to show the subject and everything else. If you take an aperture, say 2.8 or 1.5, and then you get this kind of shallow depth of field and isolate your subject by making everything else soft. Third is creating black backdrops, by using your flash with a very small aperture. You can create this kind of black backdrops in the background, which gives another impact and isolation to your subject. And that helps in projecting that subject again larger than life in your macro photography. As I was talking to you about positioning, eye level, high or low, this position matters a lot to create that impact of your pictures to viewers, like this particular snake picture, because of the eye level and a snake is looking at you, it also gives you that impact of larger than life. Now this is just a spider with a egg sac, and in a normal circumstances you are shooting it in a natural sunlight, but why, when I was talking about lighting and a directed lighting, with a flash and directed light, the same subjects can have a much better impact on viewers' mind. So using a flash or a reflectors, you can also use the reflectors by doing your natural available light on the subject. But when you are using flash, always remember, check for shadows or ghosting. Many times it happens that flash position in such a not a right way that you will get a shadow of the animals below somewhere. And if the animal has a different plane, not exactly on the soil or on the flat on the ground, then you will get this kind of ghosting effect. So please avoid that when you are doing a macro photography with a flash. Now, this was all about a little bit about technique and isolating. I'm not getting into more technical because you all are photographers, you know all your tools, you know all how to isolate subjects. Now, opportunities to go and do the macro photography. As I told you that close-up photography, macro photography, many times are, people use these words synonymously, but macro photography is specifically used for many of these subjects in nature, where you, as again, project them as a larger than life. तो उसकी अपॉर्चुनिटीज हर जगह पे रहती है. ये आर्थ्रोपोडा करके एक ग्रुप होता है जिसमें आपके सारे इंसेक्ट्स आते हैं, स्पाइडर्स आते हैं, स्कॉर्पियंस आते हैं, क्रस्टेशियन जैसे क्रैब्स आते हैं. ये सारे चीजें ऑर्थोपोडा ग्रुप में आते हैं. फिर रेप्टाइल्स है जो आपके स्नेक्स होते हैं, लिजर्ड्स होते हैं, टर्टल्स होते हैं. एम्फीबियंस में आपके फ्रॉग्स एंड टोड्स आते हैं. वाइल्ड फ्लावर्स या इवन योर गार्डन फ्लावर्स, these are the best subjects to do macro photography. Lot of aquatic animals, if you are used to do the underwater photography, there are a lot of aquatic animals, you can use those macro techniques to project them larger than life. I'm again saying always larger than life because for me that's a macro photography objective, to create your subject for that larger than life impact with viewers. You can also have a lot of structures and patterns in nature like water droplets, spider webs, which you can also use to do a macro photography. These opportunities are some. You can go beyond these opportunities to find your own subject. Now about the equipment, there is nothing kind of a must-have equipment. You can do macro photography by any camera, DSLR, point to shoot, or even a cell phone camera today. But some of these accessories have helped me in getting close to my visualization last nearly 2.5 decades. Macro lenses I have used last 2 decades, 100mm macro, I use 50mm macro, I use 60mm macro. I also use 180mm macro for a long time, when I was doing some dangerous subjects like snakes. So macro lenses to get you that 1:1 ratio always helps in isolating subject from the surrounding. You also get certain like Canon like MP65 where you can go to 5x, 1x, 2x, that kind of magnification to get your macro photography. Extension tubes always help in getting more closer to the subject. Flash, or if you're doing underwater, then strobes. So external light source always helps in getting much better images. Tripod, monopod, as in most of the genres, are essential, but you can always do handheld macro photography if you are not interested in that with a big flash. I use focusing rail and rack in some of the very fine focusing subjects, particularly droplets, where you need a very, very fine focusing, where I use focusing rail. I have never used reversing rings and close-up filters till now, but a lot of people do very good work with reversing rings and close-up filters and getting that macro or a larger than image life of your subjects. So these are accessories which can always help, but it doesn't stop you with your existing accessories to go and try the macro photography. Presently, I use very, very small equipment. After sometimes it happens that when you start your photography, you want more better equipment, you want more better gadgets to go out and do in the field. But after doing it for so many years, generally you stick to what you are comfortable with in the field to get the best results. So I am sticking to last nearly now 5-6 years with my 5D Mark III, and only one macro lens I use most of the time, that is 100mm macro. I use also Canon extension tubes. I use Canon M24 macro flash and sometimes 2550 flash with OPSU pods. I use Novaflex Castle focusing rack. I extensively use Canon angle finder in today's world with a tilted monitors in the back. I don't think you are in the need of that, but with a fixed LCD in the back, if you are going to a very low level on the ground, these angle finders works and helps you a lot to go to closer to your subject. I use tripod with ball heads. For my underwater macro photography, I use CNC housing and strobe. So this is the kit. As you know that you can always travel very light and to do a work on the macro photography. So let's take one of the subject which is arthropoda, which is all insects, butterflies, and everything small you see in the nature most of the times. It's a very fascinating subject with their color, shapes, sizes, and behavior. This is yellow Kaiser butterfly from one of the northeastern forest. These are giraffe beetles. Because of these long necks, they look like a giraffe, and that's why they are called as a giraffe beetles. These are diamond beetles or jewel beetles, as they are called as. Then you sometimes get these leaf rolling spiders, folding egg sac. Most of these animals, their life is to eat, live, reproduce, and die. So you'll always get these forms where somebody is taking care of their new young ones or a brood. Here is a spider taking care of the eggs. This is the egg sac where all its eggs are there. Grasshoppers is always a common and a favorite subject for macro photography. You will find them all across. If a lot of people who know nature and wildlife photography and they are into judging this competition, you will know that you will get a lot of these insects mating pictures for judging, into the competition. People, this is a favorite into macro photography. Then you get a lot of these very beautiful caterpillars. This is the red sergeant caterpillar. If you really kind of go and see and do a macro photography with these caterpillars, you will find it's an alien world out there. They have these different colors, spines, structures, and amazing animal life you have in this nature. Butterflies is always a favorite subject, but always composing them in a better way with the other elements always helping having that impact. This is a common cabbage white. This is a big butterfly. This is orange owlet. Some of these butterflies are not so commonly found, but if you go to rainforest of Northeast India, you can get them. This is another black veined red eye. This is yellow gorgon. Those, if you are doing into a black butterfly photography, particularly shooting this butterfly is one of the kind of a bucket list for many of the butterfly photographers. You have this green owlet. You have this peacock fancy. So butterfly is another subject which you need to, spend a lot of time in photographing. You cannot just go and start shooting there. You have to stay with them. You have to follow them. You have to find out that they are not disturbed and sit there while either mud puddling or sitting somewhere for basking, and then you can shoot them with wings open. The flies is an amazing subject, and they have such a beautiful eyes and wings and such a colorful things. Millipedes, centipedes, again, some amazing subject with, when this millipede is disturbed, it makes whole ball of its body, like this. Moths, if you are working in the night and you have a light source, particularly your flashes and torches all around, you will see a lot of moths gets attracted to it. This is owl moth from one of the Western Ghats forest of India. You know, when you do this kind of orthopods like insects, spiders, butterflies, three things are very important to get a good picture: lighting, depth of field, and angle of view. And if you get, I will show you why they are important. Let's say angle of view particularly, or your position. So once walking in a forest, I found this freshly molting cicada. It's coming out of its mold, you know, and having kind of a new life. So I started shooting it. So if you see in the first, though I can just document it, I wasn't happy with as a picture. I went around, I took another angle, still I wasn't happy with what it saw. So I tried different angles, different close-ups, but still I wasn't getting what I wanted to visualize, or I have visualized in my picture. So after moving for nearly 10-15 minutes all around, trying different permutations, combinations, finally this worked when all these three elements, the leaf, the molt, and the freshly molted cicada are in a kind of a same plane, you know. So that half-inch position movement from left or right or up and down can actually make your or kill your picture. So when you are doing this kind of photography, please always consider and search a better angle, better position for getting so pre-visualizing your pictures many times help. You also get this kind of praying mantis. So this is like a common picture. If you find them on the branch, you can always shoot them with a backlighting with your flash, or if you have a sunlight coming from somewhere as a silhouette, you can use that to have that rim lighting. But again, once you start moving around, you can try and getting a better composition. So for me, this was just a record shot of a praying mantis, but the better composition was this. You know, it looks like some alien. You have seen all these alien movies. So this is a praying mantis, same praying mantis, by moving in a different way, making the background more softer, getting a right light with the flash, you can make them different kind of projection of your subject. Now, when you are doing all these pictures of butterflies, insects, and everything, please remember, in quest of these all great images which you want, do not harm the subject. Many times when you are so close to the subject with your macro lenses and your focusing is not happening properly, I have seen that many times while just trying to focus the lens, and if the lens is getting extended while focusing, you can harm your subject. Also, do not destroy habitat. Many times those may be, ये जो आप फोटोग्राफी करते हो, किसी प्लान पे अगर बटरफ्लाई बैठा है और क्लियरिंग के लिए टू गेट बेटर पिक्चर, अगर आप उस प्लान को काट रहे हो या उसको निकाल रहे हो, तो थोड़ा याद रखिए, ये बटरफ्लाई के जो फूड प्लांट्स रहते हैं या उनके एग लेइंग के जो प्लांट्स रहते हैं, वो बहुत स्पेसिफिक रहते हैं. कभी कभी वो एरिया में कोई स्पेशलाइज फीडिंग प्लांट और एग लेइंग प्लांट जो रहता है, वो एक या दो ही हो सकते हैं. तो आप इतना ध्यान रखिए कि आपके फोटोग्राफी के पीछे जाते जाते आप हैबिटाट या वो प्लांट डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं कर रहे हो. कुछ सब्जेक्ट जो इनमें होते हैं, जैसे स्कॉर्पियंस है, सेंटीपीड्स है, हनीबीज है, वास्प्स है, दे हैव अ एबिलिटी टू हार्म यू. आपको इजा पहुंचा सकते हैं. अगर आप उनके नजदीक जाके कुछ डिस्टर्ब किए तो हनीबीज आपको स्टिंग कर सकती है, स्कॉर्पियंस आपको स्टिंग कर सकते हैं. वो बहुत पेनफुल होता है कभी कभी. तो इतना ध्यान रखिए कि फोटोग्राफी करते समय सब्जेक्ट का वेलफेयर, आपका खुद का वेलफेयर, और आप जो हैबिटाट में शूट कर रहे हो वो हैबिटाट का वेलफेयर, ये तीनों चीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है. दूसरा एक सब्जेक्ट है वाइल्ड फ्लावर्स, फंजाई एंड मशरूम्स. अनदर फैसिनेटिंग सब्जेक्ट है. एंड आपको अगर प्रैक्टिस करना है आपको मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी के लिए, तो ये बहुत अच्छा सब्जेक्ट है, क्योंकि ये भागने वाला नहीं है या कुछ आपके पीछे आने वाला नहीं है, आपको काटने वाला नहीं है, कुछ कहीं उड़ पे जाने वाला नहीं है बटरफ्लाई जैसा, बट वही रहने वाला है. तो आप अपना टाइम लेके अच्छी तरह से इसकी फोटोग्राफी आप कर सकते हो. वाइल्ड फ्लावर्स विथ अर्ली मॉर्निंग ड्यूज is a beautiful subject to photograph for macro photography. Also mushrooms, अगर बारिश में, मानसून में आप वेस्टर्न घाट्स में जा रहे हो, तो you will find lot of these wood logs with lot of these colorful mushrooms. These are button mushrooms kind of thing which you can always shoot. This is right में आपको दिख रहा है वो insectivorous plant है, एक ड्रोसेरा करके. So making, this is in a most of the time natural light, there is no flash much used here, but you can always depth of field कम करके आप background soft करके आपके सब्जेक्ट को ज्यादा इम्पैक्टफुल बना सकते हो। ये अगेन जैसे मैंने ब्लैक बैकड्रॉप बोला, फ्लैश फोटोग्राफी करके आप बैकग्राउंड पूरी तरह से ब्लैक कर सकते हो और वो फ्लावर्स को एक अलग तरीके से इम्पैक्ट ला सकते हो। ये कुछ वाइल्ड फ्लावर्स मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूँ, ये आप गार्डन में भी यूज कर सकते हो। ऐसा नहीं कि वाइल्ड में जाके वाइल्ड फ्लावर्स ही शूट करने हैं, आपके गार्डन में भी आप फ्लावर्स की मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी शूट कर सकते हो। आप जब फ्लावर्स देखते हो तो उसके क्लोजअप जाके उसके अलग से जो स्ट्रक्चर्स होते हैं अंदर, उसको भी आप अच्छी तरह से मैग्नीफाई कर सकते हैं, इम्पैक्टफुल फोटोग्राफ बना सकते हो। सो मैं आपको अलग अलग वाइल्ड फ्लावर के, जस्ट आपने कारवी फ्लावर सुना होना, जो 7 साल में एक बार फ्लावर होता है वेस्टर्न घाट्स में, ये कारवी की फ्लावरिंग से, ये एक ऑर्किड है। ये करते करते आप थोड़ा सा और विजुलाइज करके थोड़ा सा एब्स्ट्रैक्ट में भी जा सकते हो, आपके कुछ ब्रांचेस अच्छे मिल जाए। ये फर्न है जिसके ब्रांचेस क्लोजअप मैक्रो शॉट लेके आप कुछ अलग तरीके का विजुलाइजेशन भी आप दिखा सकते हो मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी में। ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको सिर्फ सब्जेक्ट ही अच्छी तरह से दिखाना है, आप थोड़े से हटके एब्स्ट्रैक्ट मैक्रो शॉट्स भी कर सकते हो। इस तरह का और थोड़ा सा इमेजिनेशन आप पोस्ट इमेजिनेशन या विजुलाइज करके जा सकते हो। जो वाटर ड्रॉपलेट्स होते हैं, अगर आप बहुत लो लेवल पे जाके थोड़ा सा लो लेवल से उनको देखोगे तो आजू बाजू के फ्लावरिंग के रिफ्लेक्शंस उसमें आपको मिल सकते हैं। तो कास प्लाटू बहुत लोगों ने आपने जाके शूट किया होगा, बट वहां पे ग्राउंड लेवल के वाटर ड्रॉप्स में वो पूरा प्लाटू का रिफ्लेक्शन, ये पर्टिकुलर शॉट के लिए मैंने फोकसिंग रेल का यूज किया हुआ है, क्योंकि मेरा फोकसिंग ठीक तरह से हो नहीं रहा था। मैनुअल करके या ऑटो करके भी आउट ऑफ फोकस जा रहा था, तो फोकसिंग रेल यूज करके मैनुअल फोकसिंग से मैंने ये ड्रॉपलेट का शूट किया हुआ है। जैसे मैं बोल रहा था कि ये फ्लावर्स, फंजाई, मशरूम्स, पत्ते कोई भी पेड़ के, ये सब्जेक्ट्स प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए, आपके स्किल्स होन करने के लिए, आपका इक्विपमेंट का परफॉर्मेंस अंडरस्टैंड करने के लिए, उसके लिमिट्स कितने हैं आपके इक्विपमेंट के, डिफरेंट तरीके के फ्लैश सेटअप ट्राई करने के लिए, डिफरेंट कंपोजिशन ट्राई करने के लिए बहुत अच्छे सब्जेक्ट होते हैं। क्योंकि ये जब आप प्रैक्टिस करोगे ना, तो जब जैसे बटरफ्लाई जैसा या कोई स्नेक्स या फ्रॉग जैसा कोई सब्जेक्ट होगा कि जो भागने वाला है, जो आपको ज्यादा टाइम नहीं देने वाला है, तब आपको ज्यादा सोचना नहीं पड़ता है कि आप कैसे कंपोजिशन करोगे, कैसे फ्लैश सेट करोगे। आप अगर इसमें प्रैक्टिस करते रहोगे तो आपको एक्चुअल जब आप जो सेंसिटिव सब्जेक्ट्स होते हैं, तब आपका पूरा ब्रेन इमीडिएटली काम करके आप अच्छा शूट कर पाओगे उसको। तो थर्ड सब्जेक्ट जो होता है, जो बीच मेरे बहुत क्लोज है, क्योंकि मैं सांपों पे काम करता हूँ लास्ट, मैंने एक्चुअली फोटोग्राफी 27 साल पहले शुरू की सिर्फ सांपों को डॉक्यूमेंट करने के लिए, एंड देन वो थोड़ा सा पैशन बन गया बाद में। सो रेप्टाइल्स, एम्फीबियंस आर मोस्ट अनदर ब्यूटीफुल सब्जेक्ट्स टू शूट एज अ मैक्रो फोटोग्राफी। बट ये सारे शूट करने के लिए आपको थोड़ा सा वो सब्जेक्ट का स्टडी करना पड़ेगा, थोड़ी पढ़ाई करनी पड़ेगी कि वो कहाँ मिलते हैं, कहाँ रहते हैं, उनका बिहेवियर कैसे होता है। ऑल्सो ये सांपों में से कुछ सांप जो होते हैं वो जहरीले भी होते हैं, तो आपको थोड़ा ख्याल रखना पड़ता है शूट करने से पहले कि वो आपको काटे नहीं। ये वन ऑफ द मोस्ट ब्यूटीफुल थिंग इन द वर्ल्ड कॉल्ड आईलैश पिट वाइपर, साउथ अमेरिका में, कोस्टा रिका में मैंने इसको शूट किया हुआ है। सांप, ये जो आप टंग देख रहे हो बाहर आगे पीछे, आपने बहुत सारे फोटो देखे होंगे सांपों के जिसका टंग जो बाहर रहता है। तो सांप ये टंग से बास लेता है, इट स्मेल्स सराउंडिंग। सांप ये टंग बाहर निकाल के स्मेल पार्टिकल कलेक्ट करता है, इसलिए वो हमेशा अंदर बाहर करते रहता है। तो आप अगर रुकोगे वो स्पेसिफिक मोमेंट के लिए, जब सांप अपना टंग बाहर निकालेगा, तो आपको ये बाइफरकेटेड टंग मिल सकती है। बट अगर सांपों की फोटोग्राफी करने, तो आप जिनको सांपों के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन है, जिनको सांपों का बिहेवियर मालूम है, उनके साथ ही रहिएगा, खुद जाके कुछ मिस एडवेंचर मत करवाइएगा। जो राजेंद्र जी बोल रहे थे कि मैंने एक न्यू पिट वाइपर इंडिया से पहली बार रिपोर्ट किया था, ये कोलबाकी पिट वाइपर फ्रॉम अरुणाचल प्रदेश। दिस इज ऑल्सो अनदर ग्रीन पिट वाइपर फ्रॉम कोस्टा रिका। This is Malabar pit viper from our Amboli area. A lot of people have photographed this thing. This is another callback way, another angle. You can always shoot to make it more impactful from a different angle. This is a saw-scaled viper in our rocky plateaus, quite a common snake. But जो मैं बात कर रहा था आपसे कि आपको अलग तरीके का कंपोजिशन दिखाना है, अलग तरीके का इम्पैक्ट करना है, तो ये साइड वाला एंगल है, ये सेम टॉप वाला एंगल है, जिसमें अलग तरह से पोजीशन करके, इसमें अच्छा बुरा कुछ नहीं है, जो जिसको अच्छा लगे वैसे आप एंगल ले सकते हो, बट इम्पैक्ट चेंजेस with your angle of view. The impact of photograph completely changes. This is also again a common wine snake which a lot of people have photographed across. Lizards, we have a lot of beautiful lizards in our Western Ghats. This is, if you go to Matheran, to Amboli, to a lot of our Western Ghats part, you will find this banded gecko. This is a very rare reptile. This is called glass lizard or glass snake. It's the only legless lizard found in India. This was taken in another remote area of Arunachal. Frogs are always beautiful subjects to shoot. And if we in India, we have a lot of beautiful frogs, but this is from South America. This is a glass frog, and they have a very beautiful, again, flowers. So here you can always combine your subject with flowers and frogs and then shoot them. This is poison dart frog, again from South America, in a mushroom. They always stay around these small leaf litter and these mushrooms. These mushrooms comes in a leaf litter, and there is always a water because this is a rainforest. Rains is always happening. So many times you'll find these frogs staying in these mushrooms, pink color mushrooms. And as a photographer, it's kind of a amazing thing to have these kind of colors and subjects all around to shoot. This is in our Western Ghats. Again, it's not necessary you have to go abroad, but this is in Amboli where you have these anjan fruits and a Malabar gliding frog sitting on it. So if you get very contrasting colors in your frames, then again the impact of your picture becomes much more better. Frogs, male keeps calling. If you go in the night, you see these frogs all calling, for females. And some of the frogs, when calling, they balloon their vocal sacs. These are the vocal sacs, and they balloon it. So if you wait and for it to call, you can get this kind of pictures. If you go to Uti and Kunnur side, Western Ghats, you'll find this starry-eyed frog. See, all these subjects you have to search. They will not be waiting for you. So you have to spend a lot of time in wilderness to get your subjects. And once you get them, not necessarily you will be able to photograph them also, because they also try to run away from you. So in nature, the macro photography is a lot of patience you need, lot of good eye you need to find your subject. And on top of that, you need to understand your photography equipment too. Whatever opportunity you get, you have to shoot them right. Again, as I said, in all this photography, you can always visualize differently and use your flash creatively by doing a macro photography, by backlighting your subject from down. This is a frog sitting on a leaf, and flash is used from the below. Now, in the whole composition, now this is a picture which I have taken little off center with a bamboo pit viper on a tree branch, but I wasn't happy with this picture. So what I did is I went more closer. Can you see this raindrop on this body? So this picture is a very different abstract macro picture of the same subject, but you have to visualize what you want to show. Now, things to remember when you are doing snakes and amphibian photography particularly is, you are doing this photography within legal framework. There is a Wildlife Act, there is animal welfare laws present. So when you are shooting these, see to that you don't break any Wildlife Act. There are a lot of people catch these subjects, bring to their studios. If you do that, you will be liable to punishment under Wildlife Act. So responsible for welfare and safety of the subject, own safety and precaution, because this can be risky. Shooting snakes can be risky if they are venomous snake. So always remember, you follow the wildlife legal framework. You are responsible for welfare of the animal, and you are responsible for your own safety. Now, after all these on-ground thing, I also love doing macro photography underwater. This is a seahorse. lionfish. You know, it's completely new word underwater. There are many subjects, many different colors, and many challenges to shoot. Like if you are doing on ground photography, say 10%, then 90%, more than 90% word is underwater. If you want to find your subjects and shoot it something new. This is a stonefish. Again, in marine also, these are the venomous animals. So if you are not a good scuba diver and you touch it and you put it, you probably can get some venom effect of this stonefish. This is a kakatu fish. This is again a mantis. This is a yellow eel. This is all 100 mm macro shots in a underwater housing with 2 strobe lights. You can also do another creativity by going more closer and showing this feather fish, not feather fish. This is, I forgot, sorry, soft plant, right? Sorry. There are different kind of colors like this clownfish. This is the anemone. There is a mutual relation between these two. You can always shoot different anemone fish with different anemones. This is the eye of an octopus, a close-up or a macro shot of an octopus eye. There are these porcelain crabs again on magnificent anemone. So underwater, it's a complete different bird. All the same photography rules of composition, lighting, everything applies the same. Only one additional thing you are needed to do this thing is your scuba diving skills. You need to be really a good scuba diver to shoot good macro photographs underwater. This is electric lamp. The colors are completely out of the world when you go underwater. Now, as I told you, underwater macro photography, you need some additional skills like scuba diving. Before you get into it, get your scuba certifications, and then only you will be able to do. But if you love to do macro photography, I'm sure you will go to do underwater photography in future. So this is the presentation. Now we'll open it for any kind of questions. I could have shown you 300 slides, but I have to restrict it to a small, around 70, 80 number. But as again, if you're doing a butterfly photography, you can go more closer to butterfly wings to have a very beautiful, different visualization here.
Hi, Kedar. All are these amazing pictures you have shown us. Quite a wonderful world we have seen through your images. And we'll take some questions here. One Mr. Ajit Joshi has asked, please opine on wide angle macro photography. So have you done any wide angle macro photography?
Yeah, see, wide angle macro photography, as I said, the subjects is always personal, you know. I have done a lot of wide angle shots of these all subjects with the habitat. Now you call it a wildlife or a wide angle macro photography, or you just call it a wide angle photography. There is always a thing. I have done a lot of, I have restricted myself to a kind of a very defined technical macro photography today. But as you go further, you can do a lot of macro apps and do wide angle macros, you know, with a subject in one of the important part, but you can also show the habitat. In personally, I call those shots as a kind of animal scape shot, not a pure macro shots. But it's not, it's my personal, it's nothing technical in it. You can call them a wide angle macro shots. But I specifically call them as animal scapes, not as a macro shots.
Are there any special lenses for wide angle macro photography?
No, the same wide angle lenses which has a close focusing distance, you know. Today you have amazing wide angle lenses which can go very close to the subject, not like 15 years back, but today's wide angle lenses can focus nearly 1 inch from the subject. Okay. So you can always do a kind of a close-up wide angle photography, I will say. But when you say a macro photography, personally for me, you need to have that larger than life impact.
Correct. Now, Meena Markekar is asking, what kind of accessories required for underwater macro photography?
You need first you need a camera and a macro lens like you are doing on ground. And then other than that, you need an underwater housing to house that camera and a lens. And then two strobe lights, like you have a flash you use outside, underwater you use similar like a flash. These are strobe lights. So you
Correct.
get a different underwater strobe lights to
Mhm.
use. You also get a lot of compact cameras with a beautiful macro capabilities with its own housing for underwater photography. But for me, I use my same camera and lenses which I use above the ground, just put them into a very specialized underwater housing, which I can use to underwater photography now.
Okay. And the strobe lights are different for underwater photography, no?
It's just think about it, those are the underwater flashes, but they are called as the strobe lights.
Okay, okay.
Same technique, they are TTL strobe lights, they are manual strobe lights, so it's the same like a same flash technology.
Okay.
But the angle of view changes when you are doing underwater photography. You have to, like here you can use flash from every angle.
Mhm.
Underwater you have to use with a specific angle because there are a lot of scatter in the water, so the light reflects from every element into the water, so you see that the light only goes to the subject.
Mhm. Okay, okay.
Hello,
So-
sir. I have got one question. Maybe possibly out of not the one now you have displayed. You have displayed one snap of a lizard with a color standing on its two legs.
right,
Correct.
right.
Yeah,
That's a fan-throated lizard.
Beg your pardon?
That's a fan-throated lizard.
Yeah, that lizard. I have seen it recently in Facebook on your account only, I believe. 6 of them.
I don't think so. May not be.
Oh, I see.
Maybe.
But you are on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
fan-throated lizard is a beautiful subject. It
Yeah,
also opens its fan. So you will
Yeah,
see a lot of
definitely.
subject with the fan opened, But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
specifically wanted to have it from the front angle without the opening of the fan, just show the colors.
Okay.
But you will see
Okay.
this picture of this lizard all across with the fan open.
Fan opening lizards I have seen in our Araka garden fields, but even hoping I have got a small video also, but not to that extent.
No,
Some
this
lizards I have
fan-throated lizard species is all across in many of our jungles. This particular
Yeah.
lizard is called Sarda superba scientifically, and it's only found around Satara in the Chalkewadi. So you will find in the season, you will find a lot of hundreds of photographers shooting them and disturbing them.
Yeah, okay.
And what is the season
Thank
for
you.
that? Either what is the season? Which month you have to
Season
go?
for you need to go either in April, May, particularly when their breeding season is on. See, the fan is for them to show
It's
to
a
the female
display.
that we are great, So you'll find this activity of opening fans and everything, more colors in the early breeding season of the reptiles. Mainly.
Okay, okay. Ashish Nanavai is asking where to get scuba certificate.
So there are many scuba schools in Goa, Pondicherry, Andaman, Lakshadweep, even in New Bombay also, where in Bombay also there are some companies who do scuba certification. But those were most of the time it's in the swimming pool. But if you really want, I think the nearest is a Goa, which you can go and enroll into any scuba school and do it. So if you are doing a scuba certification, the buoyancy, it's like when you are in the water, your ability to stay at the same place to photograph something. That is very, very important factor when you are doing a macro photography.
Okay, okay. Amey Kulkarni is asking, being a beginner, where is the first place you suggest to start a scuba macro photography?
Andaman or Lakshadweep, but even you can go to Bali in Indonesia, which probably may be cheaper than going to Andaman.
Yeah.
The staying as well as traveling.
Okay.
With my experience, I can tell you Bali can be sometimes cheaper than going to Port Blair or Havelock for a 1 week. But you can always start. See, you can always do in Tarkarli or down towards or western coast in Goa, but the visibility is always a challenge there. You can always Netrani is a good place to start and doing practice as such, but still the visibility is much better in Bali, Andaman or Lakshadweep. Or Maldives and Mauritius, it goes on and goes on.
So you have been to all those places?
I've been to Bali and Lakshadweep, Netrani, but not yet to the other places like Maldives and Mauritius.
Okay. Another question. What lenses do you recommend for wide macro? Again, a wide angle macro question.
Any
The
wide
44.
angle,
Yeah, he's
any
asking.
wide angle you can use, but I do my wide most of the time with 1635.
Okay, 1635. Any suggestions for auto lens for wide angle macro? Auto lens, I don't get it.
It's all wide angle lenses you can use actually, and if you're not getting a close focusing distance for that, you can always use the extension tube to go much closer to the subject. But this whole wide angle macro is more, anytime when the equipment or the different lens manufacturers want to sell their lenses more, they keep doing this flower. There is a flower mark on your lens, which means it's a macro lens. But please probably try it to get a real macro results. Close-up lenses doesn't mean they are macro lenses, because there is also light refractions happening in many of the lenses. So the macro lenses are specialized glass elements with the light scattering is very less. So close-up lenses and macro lenses are two little different subjects.
Okay. Another question, is it mandatory to use flash in macro photography? Because flash makes the background dark and gives an impression that the subject was shot in the night or low light conditions. The dark background may not give natural look.
Okay, so if your objective is a photo documentation of the subject, which is all the surrounding and where it stays, I agree it has to be the natural surrounding. But when you are creating a very different impact as a photography, like if I am doing a wildlife flower or a wild flowers and I am going to use them in an ID book, then I need to have a background black, many times. So it's all depending about where you want to use those photographs for. And these all kind of photographs are always, I will not say this is bad or that is good or that is good or this is bad. Even in a natural light with all the background colors, the photographs are beautiful. It's all about how you want to visualize and how you want to project your subject and a picture to the viewers. And you may not like the pictures which has a black background, but when we are doing a picture or a photography of a scientific or making it more impactful, making the background either a soft by shallow depth of field or creating a black backdrop in the background makes the subject pops out. That pop out effect is there. And you may feel it's unnatural, but sometimes it gives the subject that larger than life, impact. So there is nothing wrong or a good or a bad in this kind of. Yes, for some people you may find it unnatural with that whole black, but it's about the subject, not about how natural or unnatural it is. Because again, it's all objective of your photography is. If you are doing a completely nature and wild and trying to show it as a photo documentation, then yes, showing it in a natural environment as natural animal is one of the best method available. But if you are doing it artistic and creative photography with popping out that subject, then you probably need to isolate it from background, either by doing a black backdrops or by doing a complete shallow depth of it.
Okay. Now Vivek Joshi is asking, can you explain angle finder? Canon angle finder, I think you mentioned.
Okay. So the people who are shooting from 90s, probably they know the angle finder more, because when we used to shoot in our analog cameras, there was no viewfinder. And if we are going on a complete ground level, it was very difficult to see into the viewfinder of a camera to see the subject. And that's how it's like a telescope attachment where it attaches to a viewfinder and you can actually see your viewfinder of camera from the top. That's called an angle finder. Probably if I can go, but you can just search it. So today, many of the cameras have your LCD monitors can be tilted, they can be taken up and change the angle of view for when you can, so you can go any level. For us who used to practice it, and today my camera still doesn't have that tilted viewfinder, So if I have to go to an extreme ground level to see my subject and I am not getting it, the angle finder helps. It's basically you can see your viewfinder from any different angle. Nothing much.
Now some of our members are interested in underwater photography. One Meena Madkekar, she is a licensed scuba diver also. So they are asking whether you can guide them in this field.
Surely, anytime, not a problem at all.
Okay, okay.
I will just in my message, I will type my email ID and phone number also.
Yes, 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 yes. They are asking for that. Yeah.
So Rajani, there is this question I can see from again
Ah,
Ajit. In
you
photography
can read
competition,
and
your
you
judge
can answer.
photograph.
Yeah.
But sir, in nature category, macro is not given priority. Can you view on this? Ajit, you are right. Nature and wildlife photography many times. I will not say any word kind of unfortunately or fortunately, but judge not only on a photography, but also on what subject you are shooting, the wild moments, how rare the moment is. And people, the judges to everybody, they like tigers and other big animals more. But some really kind of fine art photography in nature and wildlife or a macro is not always taken as a, because there will be many entries with macro photography, but there will be very less entries with a very beautiful wild moments. So in the end, see, once you shortlist a photograph, everybody is the winner in a competition. But you have to give somebody a winner. Then people try to find out more character more than the photography itself. Rare moment, much beautiful scene, and many times the view or a mindset of the judge at that particular moment also matters a lot. So judging is always little, I will not say negatively, but there is always a bias of what judge like particularly, and I think it's fair. You cannot always say judge can be a neutral. This is not a robo. So a person can like a particular. So if you are shortlisted in a photography and in final, in semi-finals, I think every image is a winner always. But judges has to select something for first, second, third, which they cannot give it to everybody. So then all these other factors of a rare moment, rare animal, some chasing happening, which animal chasing some prey, all these action plans, they also get more important. But but sometimes in a macro also, there is always a challenge. Like there was a question, how do you know that it's taken in the nature? So with all this black dot, it's always a challenge that is it taken in a studio or is it taken in nature? And sometimes judges, particularly who keeps doing these things, they understand, and they sometimes try to differ.
Okay. One question: do you use Photoshop in editing macro images?
Yes, our basic processing like sharpness or little bit of the exposures and the shadows I do. But as I said, sometimes cropping also you do, because sometimes you can't reach to the subject. Then you know that. But the thing is that if you know that you are going to crop it at the time of shooting, then you do shoot in such a way that you know that you are going to go and crop it. So I do a lot of sometimes cropping, but I have pre-visualized it at the time of shooting, and I keep that much space around the subject that I know I'm going to crop later. But I do not add anything other than what's there in the element, or I do not remove anything while doing the processing in Photoshop. But basic Photoshop processing, because we shoot always in a raw, so white balancing, sharpness, shadow details, levels, these we all do into processing, and I also do the same thing.
Okay. Now there is one very interesting question. How does one manage to get close enough to venomous creatures to photograph them?
You need to study them first, and you need to be either, if you're not like, see, I can photograph venomous things because I study them. I have done a lot of work with them scientifically. So when you work with a particular subject, you always get an opportunity to shoot them. So either doing research on snakes and other thing, and then you probably get a more opportunity to shoot them. But if you are going to shoot some kind of snakes and venomous snakes, if you are not habituated, or you don't know their behavior and how they react, please don't do that. or be with somebody who knows how to stay with the snakes or how to behave with the snakes.
Okay. Yeah, you are working on the snake bites issues also, no? So tell us a little about that.
I was doing the snake conservation for many years, and ultimately I understood that all our fear about snakes and everything also comes out of some people die with venomous snake bites. So in India, unfortunately, we have around 60,000 deaths in a year to snake bites. Until we don't reduce that number, I don't think there is any right to go to our rural areas and tell snakes, save snakes, because we have so many snake bite deaths. So last 10-15 years, I have concentrated my work more on training rural people, training rural doctors about reduce bite itself, how to avoid snake bites, how to see the snake bite if it's there is a medical facility available. The patient comes on a time, every snake bite, the venomous snake bite patient can be saved. But it's not that all bites are venomous. Only 25% snakes are venomous, species particularly. And out of that, when they bite, doesn't mean always venom is injected. Nearly 50% time it's a bite. And that's how all the mantrik works. 10 people gets bitten, 2 dies, 8 survives. And mantrik says that 2 people have done a lot of scenes. Both paap kiye, isliye bache nahi. It is because they have injected with venom. Others don't have venom in their system. So it's a big superstitions, mantriks, fear, all this in our rural areas works a lot. So I'm working with a campaign called Zero Bite campaign by training doctors, training communities, creating snake bite emergency groups in rural areas for faster medical treatments to reduce snake bite deaths.
And I think there is a lot of ignorance in rural area. So what happens whenever a snake is seen by them, they just kill it, whether it is venomous or non-venomous. So it happens.
Let me
Yeah.
intense. The ignorance about this snake is same in urban and a rural area.
Okay. And
Probably I will think rural area people to coexist with the snakes, and urban people have more fear of a snake. So we have a lot of snake rescuers doing a rescue activity in Mumbai, but there are many cities also where snakes are just killed on sight. So ignorance about snakes is there is no urban and rural divide in this one particular subject. It's the same all across.
Because we don't encounter in our cities, we don't encounter the snakes so much. That's why that fear is there, that ignorance is there. Isn't it?
No, there are a lot of snakes in Mumbai around. Every rescue organization rescues at least around 1,000 snakes every year in Mumbai. So see, they are the most adaptable species. Some of them are. They stay in our sewers. They stay in our training facilities. We have a lot of rats around, so they get a lot of food. So snakes are going to be all around us. And they know how to hide from us, so we don't see them regularly.
So Kedar, you have done macro photography on ground, like reptiles and amphibians and all those things, wildflowers, and as well as you have done macro photography underwater also. So which world use, in your opinion, is more amazing, above on the land or under the water?
Okay, I will say the whole nature is amazing on the land, below land. But it's always, when you start doing something, there is always the next challenge. So you start doing photography on the ground, probably you start landscape, you get into macro. So you always look for different challenges. So underwater is the next challenge after doing on ground photography, because there is an addition of scuba skills, diving skills, and there is an addition of, it's a different word. So everything is amazing. Probably scuba diving and underwater photography is more challenging than on the ground. But at the same time, I do a lot of high altitude photography in Ladakh in winter and other things. So that is also similarly a lot of challenging photography at 17,000, 18,000 feet. So in photography, people keep always finding out next Kashi or a Makkah or a, next challenge. So for me, 4-5 years back, I found macro photography underwater is another challenge. Maybe after doing it for some years, I may go into something else. But nature is always amazing. Photographing nature and wildlife is most amazing subject you can have.
Okay.
And like every genre of photography has a different specialization. Today, if you ask me to shoot people, I can't do that. My people photography actually is rubbish. Like you guys do street photography and people, I have not been able to do people photography at all.
Okay.
It's more challenging than any nature and wildlife.
So can I say you are more friendly with the creatures than the human species?
Yeah, always, completely. I agree with you.
Okay. And another question, part two of my earlier question: which world is more colorful, the underwater or above the ground? Color wise.
Underwater, always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Underwater world is, you will find colors which you have never seen, probably.
Yeah. Amazing. So viewers, if you have any questions to ask to Kedar, please unmute yourself and you can ask him now. I suppose there are no questions. So what are your next plans, Kedar?
At the moment, due to lockdown and everything, whenever an opportunity, now the monsoon is starting, so Western Ghats will be completely active with frogs and other animals and insects and everything. So probably as soon as you were able to travel, maybe some part of Western Ghats to shoot some macros,
Okay.
or maybe northeast of India. That is another wide and completely unexplored world.
Where exactly in Northeast? Any particular state or something?
Everything is beautiful. From Assam to all seven sisters are beautiful.
Yeah.
But particularly if you are looking for a macro, Meghalaya is a beautiful with a lot of butterfly bird. But Meghalaya is also good for culture, like the root bridges and the people and everything and landscapes. Arunachal is beautiful with all the insects, snakes, amphibians, wildflowers. But again, if you are going into all these areas, you need to understand you will be bitten by leeches, insects, mosquitoes. So you need to be ready for all the hardships.
Yeah. Okay. Saurabh Bhattacharya is asking, what are the advantages of using ring flash over normal flash with diffuser?
Actually, I don't like a ring flash. What I am using is M24, which is kind of a ring flash, but where you can adjust both lights separately, like two different flashes. So basically, I like to have flashes little obtuse chord where you have a chances of moving it all around. So earlier when I wasn't having M24 of a Canon, I used to use two flashes with TTL cables all around, so I can put my flashes all across wherever I want to have. I have even used during the analog days, I have used 3 flashes also. But now as I travel kind of a light, I use M24, where it's not a ring flash exactly. There are 2 different flashes on a ring. So there is no circular flash. But ring flash also helps in getting a kind of light. There are a lot of flash accessories are available to do macro photography today with your normal flashes also. On the camera, if you put a flash on obtuse, there are different kind of reflectors available, different kind of balloon reflectors available. You can always use a very, very simple diffuser. If you don't have anything, put a tissue paper or a Vaseline. Lot of times I use a Vaseline on the flash to diffuse my lights, so the traditional ring flash, I don't like so much because it gives you a very monotonous light. But M24 is little more. I think Nikon also has a similar flash, which can be used very differently.
Okay. And now Renu Kartak is asking, tell us how you manage the pit viper shot.
Okay, the pit vipers, I work with pit vipers for research as well as documenting them a lot. And that's how, for me, as I'm studying those subjects, that subject is available for me as such. And when you are shooting these snakes, you have to be very, very patient and set up your whole tripod, camera, lenses, and flashes rightly, and wait for that moment when it takes the tongue out, in that way. So the best thing for all this, as you see, most of those my pit viper, I have done those black kind of a black backdrop, where I use a flash in such a way that my background becomes black. and the snakes gets those complete impactful photos, you know. So the smaller aperture and manual flash, manual focusing, as well as manual exposure. You know, I do most of these pictures are manual exposures. They are not in the aperture priority or a shutter priority. But fortunately, with digital revolution, I can do a lot of experimentation today with manual exposure. You know, in earlier days, we never knew the results till you came back. Today, you know the results on the spot. So use your manual exposure to find out much better, you know, exposures with the snakes. Particularly those pit vipers, you need to know where to find them, need to search for them. Pit vipers or many of the vipers are ambushers, you know. They don't run like a rat snake or a cobra or other snakes. They stay and they defend their territory. So if you found out a snake, generally it will not try to run away. It will try to stay there and defend in a while. So these are all ambushers. So if you find a snake, wait for there to snakes get used to you and not run away, and wait for your opportunity to photograph them.
And generally the flash sync speed is 1 to 2/50th of a second, correct?
Yeah.
So is it that shutter speed is fast enough to capture the tongue of the viper?
Yeah. Generally,
Okay.
yeah. See, because you are flashing it in such a way that actually, if you don't use a flash, your picture is underexposed.
Correct.
You know, so the actually flash is freezing that moment more than your shutter speed.
Because the movement of the tongue is so fast. So
Yeah, but if you are using a shutter speed of say like 190 or even 60, that's enough for that particular freezing that moment. But also as in a flash photography, in many of these moments, you use your flash to freeze, not your shutter speed, you know, because even it moves, because flash is gone, everything else is again underexposed.
yeah, correct. So how to go for expedition now?
You have to wait for
Hmm.
lockdown to get it over and find out the place where you can move around.
Yeah.
What are the travel restrictions are you need to follow? Please follow all the rules and regulation for yourself as well as the people. Take your vaccination. You know, today I am kind of vaccinated also, went through COVID also, was, you know, had a fever for 5 days, but unfortunately mild one. So I have a lot of antibodies, but and I still don't travel till all the restrictions are removed. But one thing is good, if you are doing a wildlife photography and if the travel is permitted, you don't have to worry about, it's all those people photographer has to worry about how to do a photography. For nature and wildlife photographer, you are not going to get people all around you once you go out there in the wild, you know, so you don't have to worry about infections at all.
And many of our members are very anxious to accompany you on your shoots, macro photography shoots. They want to accompany you.
If there is an opportunity, but I don't go kind of a team there. Most of the time it's decided that I want to shoot this particular subjects in this particular area. If it comes to that we all can go together, always welcome.
Fine.
Deepak Kamdar is saying not answering all questions. Have we missed any questions, Rajendra ji?
I don't think so. He can unmute himself and ask the question. Deepak, you can ask your question. You unmute yourself and ask your question. In case I have missed one. I can't find his question here. Deepak. That's what Deepak Kamdar. No.
Yes, asking.
I think he's asking, can we join Kedar sir?
That he has answered, na? Kedar has answered that question. So, in any case, any of you have any question, please unmute yourself and ask the question now. You are free to ask.
So there is one question by Deepak Kamdar. I think it is composed for close-up or it all are as it is. So Deepak, that your meaning means whether they were, that the meaning when you say it is composed for close-up, because many of them are not, they are as it is in the wild. except probably one snake which was, we were studying it. So it was in the wild, but it was stopped. So some of the snake photography we always write done under control environment because we were studying it. So it has been stopped at a particular point. But many of them are as it is, not composed for close-up and moved to some other place and put into a different substratum. No, they most of the time are as it is. And composing as a photography for close-up, yes, they have composed photographically, but not in a kind of catch them and put it somewhere.
Sir, one question. Please don't think as personal. Just out of curiosity, are you a professional photographer all the while, or are you in any other service?
I am more on a conservation part. Photography is more hobby and a passion. But I have started in a photography field. When I did my exhibition, I couldn't get a good prints of my pictures, so started a printing studio now. Nothing
Thank
to do
you.
with photography as such, definitely. But I support photographers for printing.
Okay.
So I think we are done with all the questions. So thank you, Kedar, for the wonderful slideshow, the wonderful images you have shown to us,
Thank you,
and the expertise you have got in this field. You have shared your knowledge with our members, and certainly I hope the things get to normal as soon as possible. And many of us would like to accompany you on your macro shoots. And thanks again on behalf of PSI. It was a wonderful slideshow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajan.
Thank you.
all again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. We are
Thank
ending
you,
this.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Lots more.